Well, this morning I'm speaking on, I'm basing my talk on this quote that has been attributed to Jimi Hendrix. It was actually Mahatma Gandhi that said that the power of love overrules the love of power, the world will know peace. Yes. The day the power of love overrules the love of power, the world will know peace. That says so much. And Gandhi also said that love is the greatest power. Of course, every world religion has said that as well. When we say God is love, that means love's pretty powerful, right? The greatest power. Love is the greatest power. And many very wise voices are speaking out right now with urgency that humanity make this evolutionary move from the love of power to the power of love, to empowering love. And we can live in partnership with one another. Partnership. I actually had such a long talk for you today. It was 43 pages at one point. You'll be glad to know I edited it down to just 13 pages. But I had wanted to tell you all about Rian Eisler. She's an archaeologist. She wrote The Cellist and the Blade. And she she was a scholarly archaeologist, and she did this research. And basically, humanity didn't always live with wars. It had a period of time. It lived in partnership up until about 10,000 years ago, is what she says. And it was egalitarian. It wasn't matriarchal, patriarchal. It was egalitarian. So it is this model of living in partnership that I feel, and so many wise voices are saying, is absolutely imperative. That we outgrow this domination, right? This power and control over others. That become obsolete, and that this evolution is imperative to our survival. There's a quote. There's a story I want to tell you. Speaking about the power of love, I just read this story this week and I was so touched. A woman that was a teacher in Indiana was having a difficult day one day with her students. They were raucous and they were unruly and they were driving her crazy. So she stopped the class and she said, "All right, I'm going to give you a piece of paper." And on the piece of paper, she wrote on the blackboard 31 students' names, all the students that were in the class. And she said, "Now I want you all to write down each student's name, 31 names, and beside each student's name, I want you to write one beautiful quality about that person. One quality you admire, one thing you admire about that student." So they did, and she collected the papers and dismissed the class. So a few months later, again, they were having a difficult time paying attention, and she said, "I have something for you." And so she stopped the class, and she passed out the papers, and she had cut and pasted and taken their name, put their name at the top, and then all those qualities that were written, those 31 qualities and admirable traits, she pasted them on that paper. And so they left. So a few months, actually, it was actually a few years later, she got a call from a woman, the mother of one of her favorite students. And he had joined the army and gone to the Middle East, and he was killed over there. And the mother invited her to the memorial. And so the teacher went to the memorial, and after that, they were at the gravesite, and the mother came up and said, "You know, when they found my son's body, there was very little. He had very little with him. But he had this." And she pulled out this piece of paper, and that was the piece of paper with his name and those 31 admirable traits. And you could tell that it had been folded and unfolded many, many, many times. Isn't that just so beautiful? And just such a simple act of love. Such a simple, beautiful act of love that made such a difference. All you teachers out there, I hope you're going to do that. So, yeah, that story just really touched my heart because, in this world, it can feel so demanding at times. Anybody else? Am I the only one that's... And we need love. We need love to keep us going. We need to be reminded of our goodness and our value and our beauty and our gifts. And that gives us courage to carry on. That gives us courage to face our fears and to stay the course. So I am a philosopher at heart. I'm always wondering why are humans the way they are? And I've been really wondering, I've been looking so deeply at why is there this struggle in our country and actually beyond our country in the world. What is this tension in our nation? And I feel a big part of it is this struggle between the love of power on one hand and, this one camp, the love of power and control and then domination. And then on this other side, this empowering love, this tribe of people that want to empower love, that are giving their attention to opening their hearts. I've talked about Michael Singer, he was my first teacher, but I used to go to his talks probably for 10 years, from 1975 to 1985 or so. And he would always say so often that this is a mostly third chakra planet. And that third chakra that's the power center, right? The solar plexus. And it's about power and control. And that it was these lower chakras and that our evolution was dependent on us moving up to the heart and making that shift in consciousness where we empower love. The energy of the third chakra is this deep desire for power and control, and it represents the ego and the ego's need to feel in charge in one's life, to feel in control of circumstances. But in its extreme, it's craving for power. It's kind of like almost a hungry ghost kind of craving. You can't get enough power. And when it gets to that degree, it's out of control. It's over others. It's over societies. It's over nations. So Gandhi understood this. He was such a deeply spiritual man, but he was a lawyer and he was a statesman. And, he did not like the Brits in the country of India. He wanted them to leave. They were there ruling in a foreign country. And he was amazing in that he was able to, through nonviolence, get them to leave. And you can really see how it was the love for Gandhi that inspired the people, right? It wasn't his dominating and controlling. He wrote, "Power is of two kinds. One is obtained by the fear of punishment, and the other by acts of love. Power based on love is 1,000 times more effective and permanent than the one derived from fear of punishment." You're nodding. Yeah, I know. I love that quote. Gary Zukav, he wrote a lot about authentic power. That was really a thing he was focused on for many years. And here's a quote from him. He wrote that pursuing external power, the ability to manipulate and control, now threatens our survival. Authentic power is completely different from the power to make people do what you want. It is the opposite of the ability to manipulate and control. Instead, it requires emotional awareness and responsible choice of the intention of love. Yeah, emotional awareness and the intention for love. Gary was inspired by Viktor Frankl. He, if you've read that, Search for Meaning, such a powerful book. But the thing that inspired Gary and inspired us all is Victor's discovery that no one can take my ability to love from me. No one can take it, no matter what they do. So we're each on a journey learning about authentic power. We start right from the day we're born learning about power and authentic power. And, authentic power is aligned with love. It's married to the intention that we stay centered in the heart, that we live and move from the heart. So we learn about power through relationships. We know the difference between being loved and being controlled. Hopefully we know the difference between being loving and being controlling. And we realize that a true partnership is one of equals. It's one of equals. Gary wrote, spiritual partnership, the new female and new male are partners on a journey of spiritual growth. They want to make the journey. Their love and trust keep them together. Their intuition guides them. They consult with each other. They are friends. They laugh a lot. They are equals. Does that sound good? Is that what you're doing in your partnerships? I love reading that quote because Gary Zukoff met his partner, Linda Francis, at a retreat that I was giving in Mount Shasta in the early 90s. And we had invited him. There was a number of us giving the retreat, and we invited him to speak, and he met Linda at that retreat. Well, I knew Linda before Gary knew Linda. And I watched them, do this dance. And I watched them over the years really work on that spiritual partnership and work on that equality. And they really grew a lot, and they started to teach it, and they wrote a book together, Spiritual Partnership. In fact, Gary, we should have him come back and speak on that. We'll have him speak on that book, because last time he spoke on the universal human. But, Linda now is in the non-physical reality, but he says he's still learning with her and from her. So it's beautiful. One of the most valuable life skills that I've learned in relationship, spiritual partnership, is that when I'm triggered, to take a 90-second break. I've learned from brain scientists that the chemicals in your brain, especially anger or when you're triggered, they take about 90 seconds to dissipate. So if you can be mindful enough to give yourself that space and time, you're more likely to respond versus react, and more likely to have a nice, long-lasting relationship, right? The brain, the chemicals need 2 minutes of breathing and mindfulness. And it really takes a certain maturity, where the ego doesn't have that need, or we don't allow the ego's need to, step in and correct or defend or have to be right at all cost. So that's where the power of love is stronger than the ego. And it's just those everyday situations where we get to practice, right? We get to learn. Work with our energies. But, and this has helped me as a minister over the years. I've just learned that if you don't give it energy, it will dissipate, and you can wait until there's a lot more consciousness. Like if I have somebody coming at me with something and some really intense feelings. There's a quote that, I'll get to it. Yeah, so the thing that causes us to want to control, the thing that, if we look deeply at the need and the desire to seek out power and control others, it's often due to fear, would you say? It's due to fear, it's due to distrust. And fear is a natural response to feeling in danger, right? And what dissolves fear is feeling safe. And what makes us feel safe? What qualities in a person make you feel safe? You tell me. What makes you feel safe? Love, kindness, listening, trust, respect, understanding. What was that? Non-judgment. Yeah. Patience. Yes. Honesty. Softness. Vulnerability. Belief. Acceptance. Yeah. Listening. Understanding. That's huge. Forgiveness. Yes. Yeah. Those things make us feel safe. And we create safety. Would you say we create safety through connection? All those things facilitate deeper connection, don't they? When we feel nourished by interconnection, we feel safe. And not only with our human friends, but with our non-human friends, right? Where would we be without our dogs and cats? And we feel connection with the earth, and that nourishes us and makes us feel safe. I know I go walk in the park every day. I live right on Lithia Park, and it just makes my nervous system calm down, and that fear dissolves, that tension dissolves. So you could say that through becoming more aware of our interconnectedness, fear dissolves and love grows. Would you say that? Did you see the movie My Octopus Teacher? Anybody? I just was so touched by that story. It was a true story. It was a man, Craig Foster, who had this unlikely friendship with an octopus. He was a naturalist and a filmmaker, and he was burnt out. He was burnt out with his life, and he had to leave his life. His nervous system was shot, and he wanted a deep change, and he went to South Africa, and he stayed right on the ocean. And so he would do these icy cold dips in the ocean every day, and he saw an octopus one day, and she was very shy at first. She had to, see if he was safe. But after a while, they're very curious, they're very intelligent, and they have feelings. They even dream. Isn't that amazing? So it's really a love story, because he grew so close to this octopus that she started coming out when he was in the water, and he found himself thinking about her all the time, like both on land and in the water. And so they had this years-long interspecies relationship. And one of the sweetest moments is in the film where he's in the water, and she comes up to him with one of her long arms, and she puts the tip of her long arm right in his hand and playfully attaches one of her suckers. And he was so astonished. He was changed by that. He was changed forever. And then another time he saw her, she was in the water doing this with a school of fish. She was doing all of her legs at this school of fish, and he thought it was predatory, but she was playing with a school of fish. And so when she saw him, she left and she came over to him, and she just laid right on his chest. She just attached right to his chest. So he was aware that octopuses only live a year or two, but he just let himself fall in love and learn from her, and just feel all this reverence towards the importance of her being as an equal species to his own importance. So, I think it's these kind of things. It's us connecting, and realizing the beingness and the incredible variety of beingness in all of life that opens our hearts and that helps us make this shift into partnership versus domination. It's right relationship. The Buddhists call it right relationship. And I think it's what our world needs. There's that quote from Genesis that says, "Man shall have dominion over all the earth and all her creatures." Who wrote that anyway? The Native American, what Lynn was sharing with us last week, is just so much more, I think, what we need. And that is a reverence for all life and a feeling of partnership, right? And we have to collectively wake up. It doesn't have to be us all, but it does have to be more of us. It needs to be more of us. So it's about connection. And when we don't feel connection with each other, we don't feel love. And if we don't feel love, we don't feel spirit, right? So without that, when the power of love is not felt, then I think the love of power can kind of be this poor substitute for a sense of fulfillment. There's a great story that Rumi tells about this proud king, and he's acquired all this power, and he's got all this stuff, and he's happily living in his castle on his throne. And one night he hears these footsteps on the roof, these heavy footsteps on the palace, and he's like, who goes there? What are you doing up there? And one of the guards, filled with confusion, bows his head and says, "Sir, it's us. We're in a search." And he said, "Well, what are you searching for?" And he says, "Well, sir, we're searching for our camels." And he said, "Well, who ever heard of searching for camels on the roof?" And he says, "Well, we follow your example, sir. Who seeketh union with God while sitting on a throne?" Who seeketh Seeketh union with God while sitting on a throne. It reminds me of, Jesus' words. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And what does that mean exactly? I interpret that to mean that if we most value worldly possessions, if our highest value is power and position versus love and grace and spiritual awakening and union with the divine, well, we'll have possessions and power, but we'll miss the meaning of life, which is love. Everybody tells us that. All the wise ones tell us that's why we're here. So I just want to support you all. I want us to support each other in remembering that we are here to love and remembering our interconnectedness. We feel it here every Sunday. And, remember that we belong to this world. We belong to this world. This web of life is calling us forward at this time. And we need to take really good care of ourselves, and we need to spend a lot of time in nature. This last week with this atmospheric river, I bought a raincoat. I wasn't having it, not walking in the park. So we want to go out, we want to breathe the air, we want to connect with nature, and remember the truth of our interconnectedness. And, I think that the current situation in our world now, it really requires us to be masters at processing and letting go of fear. We need to be masters at calming our nervous systems. That is a mastery we need right now. So keep your hope alive, stay connected with your heart, with yourself, with each other, with the earth, and know that the power of love is the greatest power, and that love will prevail. So be it. Thank you.